I know it's here somewhere. Finally. Oh, it's time for the doctor. You're listening to Dr. Bill, the computer curmudgeon. Take it away, doctor.
All right, we're going to look at web extensions today. I've got an article on the website. Let me go over there real quick to drbill.tv. This is the article, My Recommended Browser Extensions, and it goes through all the different ones that we're going to talk about, if I have time. At any rate, you can always go to drbill.tv and read the article in its entirety. But for right now, let's explore the extensions. Now, the reason I want to talk about extensions is because when I left the corporate world in computing, we were beginning to get away from what we might call heavy computer applications. Applications that ran directly on the PC. The corporate world was shifting more and more to web-based tools, and so all you really needed was a browser. Now, there's a lot of advantages to that in a corporate environment because the end client computers don't have to be that powerful as long as they can basically show a web browser, and if all the applications are in the web browser, they can use lower-end devices. Now, the same thing applies to a certain degree in a home environment because you don't have to have the most powerful computer in the world to run web extensions. And you might say, well, that's all well and good, but web extensions aren't that powerful. They're not that good in and of themselves. But in fact, I've got a lot of pop-ups happening here. Sorry about that. But at any rate, in fact, a lot of the web extensions are quite powerful, and we're going to look at several of them. Now, I'm using Microsoft Edge. That's my browser of preference, which I know is odd as much as I fuss about Microsoft. But the new Microsoft Edge, the one that is out now, is really based on Chrome. The Chrome or Chromium base, the open source base, Microsoft has taken that and incorporated it as the base for what used to be Internet Explorer, now Microsoft Edge browser. So they've left the whole Internet Explorer paradigm behind, which was heavy and bloated and ugly and had a lot of problems with web compatibility. The new Edge browser is much, much better. And so I like it. It's integrated in the operating system. It's very clean. It works very well. And it is very secure, believe it or not. So I really do enjoy using Edge. Now, the one thing Edge does give you is the ability to use extensions, and they don't have to be extensions that are strictly in the Edge extension store. You can use Chrome extensions in Edge because it's the same code base. So you can go to the Chrome web extension store or to the Microsoft web extension store. Now, you could manage your extensions in your browser in Edge up here with these little, it's kind of an amorphous looking little design of some kind here, kind of little things poking out from around the center there. And if you float over it, it'll say extensions. If you click it, it will show all the extensions that we have installed here. And then it has a little picture over here to the side that will be the show in toolbar. So like AdBlock Plus is an extension. If I click show in toolbar, it will show up here. Now, I don't normally use AdBlock Plus in terms of tweaking the interface. I use it in the sense that it protects me from ads, but I can afford to click on this and hide it from in the toolbar, so I don't have to see it. It doesn't clutter my toolbar up here. So I use AdBlock Plus, and let me talk a little bit about that. As you can see here, it says surf the web with no annoying ads, experience a cleaner, faster web, and block annoying ads. Acceptable ads are allowed by default to support websites. Now, the reason for that is a lot of websites have things that have to pop up to give you information, and those are to a large extent excluded from AdBlock Plus. But what it does block are all the annoying ads that pop up and try to get your attention all the time. And so you can tweak it, you can tune it. There are options. I run it pretty much strictly on its default, but AdBlock Plus is really, really handy. The next one here is Bitwarden. Bitwarden is a password manager. I use it almost exclusively, pretty much exclusively for all my passwords. I can have long, ugly passwords that I would never remember, and you would never remember or guess, because they're so long and convoluted and make no sense whatsoever. Just a string of letters, numbers, symbols, and so forth. But by putting them in a password manager, I don't have to remember them. I don't have to know them at all. So if I go over to an application like my email, my Squirrel Mail access here, you notice the web browser fills in my email address and my password. But I could come up over here to Bitwarden, and I could click on a login, like this is my ministry address login. That fills it in, both with the address, which is the username, and the password. I click login, and it takes me into my email. Now, the same way, I could log out of here, and I could come back to log back in and go up to Bitwarden and pick my regular email, drbillbailey.net email, click login. It takes me into that email. So I have access to both accounts. So, and I don't have to remember those passwords. As a matter of fact, if you asked me those passwords with a gun to my head, I couldn't tell you because they are unrememberable. Okay? But I use the password manager. So, Bitwarden is free. It's open source. Absolutely no cost. It maintains this information for you. And the information, if you ever want to change the passwords, look at the passwords, read the passwords, you have to have the master password, which in my case isn't even a word, it is a phrase. So you would have to know the entire long phrase with all the proper, case and all the different punctuation and everything that's in the passphrase in order to know and get into my master Bitwarden passwords. All right, here's another one that I really like, Checker Plus for Google Calendar. Now, as the name implies, this gives you your Google Calendar, which is, of course, available free if you have a Google account, and allows you to put, appointments and so forth in it with dates and times. So, for instance, this is a doctor's appointment. Here's Thanksgiving. All the different holidays are shown here. I can skip ahead to the next month, see the appointments and things that I have for that month and so forth. I can come in here and add appointments and things of that nature. And as you see, it pops up whenever I just click on the calendar up here and pulls it right up. I don't have to get into Google, log into Google, go to the calendar, pull it up in that big clunky interface. It's all right there in the browser extension, which I really like. All right, the next one is one called Extensity. And as the name somewhat implies, it manages extensions. Now you notice I have a lot of extensions here that are installed but they're grayed out. They're not actually currently turned on. But let's say I wanted to turn on this Click and Clean extension. That's one of the ones that is available for us here. So let's turn it on. And then once it's turned on, I can click on Click and Clean. Talk about pop-ups. We'll get rid of some of these pop-ups. Here is a way to clear private data from the browser. Now, normally, you would go through this long, involved settings, privacy, clear browser data, all kinds of things that you have to go through kind of, around your elbow to get to your thumb kind of a situation. Here, it's one button because of Click and Clean. Very handy, very nice. I really like that. But I don't use it all the time. And because of that, I can use Extensity to just turn it off when I'm not using it. So let's go in here, Extensity, and click and clean, click it, turns it off. It's no longer up there in the browser. Now there's others that I have that I don't use normally. Things like Colorzilla, which is a color picker, where you can pick colors off the screen. Some of these are security tools, like Miner Blocker. That is a tool that allows you to block people trying to grab your computer and use it for data mining and for mining Bitcoin, which can be annoying because it will slow down your computer. So Miner Blocker just blocks all that activity. Won't happen. Privacy Badger is one that I install on all my browsers. It is a product of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the EFF. They wrote Privacy Badger, as the name would imply, to keep your privacy online. It blocks sites, it blocks attempts to steal your data, and it's completely free and open source. So I just run that and pretty much forget about it. I don't think about it, don't look for it. It just blocks things that are trying to stop you. uBlock Origin does very much the same thing. As you can see, I've got a lot of security tools installed. Rakuten. It's one that my wife got me using because I order a lot of stuff, and why not get some money back when I order things. So Rakuten is there. I'm getting used to that. I've only had it for a few days. It's a little obtrusive, but that's okay. I'm learning to deal with it. But it does, I've already gotten money back, you know, in my little ledger of things that I've ordered. So it is worthwhile. Be aware. Now, Rakuten is a well-known tool. There are sites out there that have these kinds of things that have a lot of pop-ups and are very obtrusive and will steal your data. Rakuten is not one of those, thankfully, but there are plenty out there that do. So kind of be aware of these kinds of things. And then we've got one here called Window Resizer. Now, this is one you may or may not use. Let me go over here to the extensions and I'll show you what it does. You pull it up and it allows you to set your browser screen size to a given size. So for instance, if I were to bring up a website on my phone, it would look very different than it does on my desktop. So if I'm a web developer, which I am, and I'm developing for a phone, so for instance, here's the iPhone. If I click this, it's going to make my browser look like it would in terms of seeing what's on the screen on my on an iPhone. So if I go to let's go back up here where I know where I am. If I go to the Dr. Bill site, you see this is what it looks like, what my website looks like on a desktop. If I were to go into Window Resizer and put it on an iPhone, notice how it looks very different. Now I've got a menu drop down here with all the menus. It's not at the top of the screen. And you see it looks and reads as if it were on a phone. Now, I could go into Window Resizer and select an even smaller phone, like a small Android phone. And that would bring us down to this screen. You see how the images have shrunk down. The formatting has changed to be correct for a phone. Got the menu that drops down here. So I can see my websites, how they look on various phones, various platforms, iPads, things of that nature. Or I can just go back up to full desktop size and see what it looks like on a desktop. Notice the menu is now gone, but now I have the menu bar up here on the website. That's called a responsive website design theme that is in WordPress, and it adapts to whatever you're viewing in terms of the platform that you're on for your client. So if I'm looking at it on the phone, it's going to look one way. If I look at it on the desktop, it's going to look another way. And I need to be able to design for that. So that's what that tool allows me to do, is to get a preview of what what I'm doing when it comes to web development. So you may not need that tool. I don't know. If you are a web designer, that can be very handy. Or if you want to see what your website maybe that you're having designed for you, if you're a business or whatever, a ministry, then you might want to resize to look at how that's going to work. So there's all the various extensions. I did talk about FeedBro. FeedBro is one that I like for managing RSS feeds. RSS is really simple syndication. RSS, it's how most people view podcasts and things of that nature. And so I have the various podcasts, like, for instance, the Dr. Bill Show. Here's the list for the podcast. Uh-oh, it started playing. Didn't mean for that to happen. At any rate, it started playing the first one in the top of the list there when I went into FeedBro. But FeedBro allows me to manage all the various netcasts, podcasts that are out there as far as me watching them, viewing them, listening to them, whatever. So very, very nice tool, and it's a web extension. So all of these web extensions extend the power of your web browser and are really beneficial. So I hope you enjoyed those. I got a lot of good feedback from people that enjoyed the recommended Windows software. So I wanted to kind of extend it a little bit here, no pun intended, for the web extensions. So I hope you enjoyed it. Remember till next time that the doctor is out of here.
Dr. Bill, the Computer Curmudgeon, is a production of DrBillDaily.net with all the honors, rights, and privileges thereunto appertaining.
If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ding the bell to be notified of future videos.